This video is probably going to be pretty long because I have a lot of thoughts about this. Let's hope for that 30-minute mark. Hope I can get it done in time. But anyway, I watched Hazbin Hotel because it came out finally a couple days ago. And okay, so let me set this up by talking about my history with this show. I saw the pilot when it came out in 2019. I don't think I saw the whole thing. I think I saw half of it and decided I didn't like it. And then I turned it off. And really the problems I had with it, it's the problem that a lot of people are pointing out about Vivzy Pop's stuff, including Hell of a Boss. The writing just isn't very good, is it? I mean, great ideas, great character designs, great animation and all that, but it's just, the dialogue is weird, it doesn't feel natural, the humor feels forced, it just kind of makes me cringe a little bit, and that was my problem with the pilot of Hazbin Hotel. It just felt a little bit cringy. It just felt a little bit like a little bit amateur. And so that was my first impression with it. I really wasn't taken in by it. But then recently, a couple months ago, I decided to watch it again, and I actually I had a different take because my guard was up this time. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I don't like this. And so with my guard up, expecting to not like it, I actually found that I was able to appreciate a lot more about it this time. I was able to really see the good things about it, and I actually then got pretty excited for whatever was coming next in the actual show. Now, I heard that it was picked up by A24, which kind of surprised me when I found out about that, because I've seen a lot of A24 movies, and Hazbin Hotel did not really strike me as the kind of project they usually do. But one thing about A24 is that, everyone likes to complain so much about cinema and the state of entertainment and movies and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of Debbie Downers about this subject. There's a lot of cynics. There's a lot of people with very exaggerated views on this subject. But when A24 is the bastion of great entertainment today, I've seen probably 10 A24 movies, something like that. Definitely two hands counting, and not a single one has felt half-assed. Not a single one has felt like there was an effort put into it, that they didn't hire people with a lot of creative vision and talent to make it. It seems like they really care about quality there. They're a studio that has built a brand on quality, which is really interesting that's something you can build a brand on. Hey, we actually make good movies. Want to watch this? Want to watch, Everything Everywhere All at Once? It's actually a good movie. Wow. I wasn't really a big fan of that movie, but it reached a lot of people. I think my favorite, what's my favorite A24 movie? I liked The Lighthouse. That might be my favorite. Oh, The Whale. That was a great one. I think I like The Whale a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, every movie I've seen from them has been some shade of really interesting, really good, high quality entertainment. And so with them picking up Hazbin Hotel, I was like, okay, it's in good hands at least. But I didn't really quite know how I was going to go because, I checked out Hell of a Boss, and it wasn't very good. And from what I've heard, even the people who do like that show seem to have a lot of complaints about it. So it's like, it could kind of go either way. It was, the fate of this show is kind of up in the air. But I you know, this concept and these characters and this world and this animation, it's all so well put together, even in this pilot, that despite the weaknesses of that episode, I could see potential for greatness in it. And so I was excited, and I watched, when it came out, I watched all 4 episodes of this first season. It's already greenlit for season 2, which makes me happy. And I have to say, it is pretty much as good as I could have possibly hoped it would be. In my best imagination of what this show could be, the top echelon of this potential, that was pretty much reached. I think they knocked it out of the park. I think they took this concept and these characters and this world and wrung out of it a really, really, really good show. So, and they fixed the writing problem, and this was something that I was hopeful about, because with an actual studio being able to come in on this project, they can hire a lot of talent. And I figured that they would be able to hire some really good writers to help out, and that way they'd be able to really tune it up and make it a lot better. It keeps the same style, like everyone, you know, it takes place in hell, so everyone's always cussing all the time. It keeps that kind of element of it, and it doesn't change anything about the show. It just makes it better. You know, they just figured out a way to make the style that already existed just work a little better. They just fine-tuned it a bit. They just, you know, they just fixed it up a little bit. And so, yeah, it was a very successful final product, I think. One thing I like about it is that, you know, this show does a lot of unique things. It's kind of groundbreaking, I think. And obviously there's the whole aspect of it being a pilot that was created without studio help, just a group of colleagues who got together and created something of professional quality, and it got picked up. That itself is pretty groundbreaking, but I think what's more groundbreaking about it is the style of it, because it's a cartoon that's made for adults that, you know, you wouldn't be able to show to children, just because it's got way too much going on it that's would be deemed inappropriate for children. And yet the style doesn't take any influence from other cartoons made for adults. And it really seems to take a lot more influence from cartoons made for children, which is a good thing, because a lot of times cartoons made for children are just more appealing. They have better art styles, especially these days. Like, you know, I'm thinking stuff like those shows that people are always raving about. I've never really seen them. I think I saw Adventure Time a long time ago, and I liked that. But like that kind of genre, like Gravity Falls and Star, whatever the fuck that show is called, like that. Those ones that are seemingly kind of, or Owl House, the ones that are kind of pushing in a slightly more serialized direction. They're doing more with their characters and their stories and their animation. It seems to be taking a little bit more inspiration from that kind of show, rather than from the adult cartoons, which typically have very unappealing art styles, almost intentionally so, almost like it's saying that adults aren't supposed to enjoy good animation. which is sad. But yeah, I mean, stuff like, I mean, South Park was pretty much designed. The joke of that was that it was badly animated, you know, and so a lot of those adult cartoons kind of go that path, and they don't have a lot of serialization. They're very episodic, they're very irreverent, and they don't really mean a whole lot. And this is actually kind of a problem I had with Rick and Morty, because for one thing, Rick and Morty has a really ugly art style. It's not very appealing, although they do put effort into presentation. So the character designs are terrible, but they actually do put effort into animating those characters in the world that they create. However, the issue I had with Rick and Morty was, you know, I really loved the show when it was in a slightly more serialized direction. Seasons 1 through 3, especially 3, I thought season 3 was my favorite, even though it got a lot of hate from the audience when it came out. I thought that was stupid, because to me that was the best season, because it was actually developing the characters, and they had season-long arcs, and you know, they had like the whole divorce arc going across the whole season, and you had. Yeah, it showed how Morty and Summer dealt with their parents' divorce, and how Jerry was dealing with being a divorced dad, and then how Rick was dealing with, you know, not having Jerry in the family anymore, and that being kind of a relief for him. But then at the end, Jerry comes back into the family, and then I think season 4 had a little bit of this. Like, you get to see Morty kind of get sick of Rick, get fed up with Rick. He talks back to him a lot more, like with the vat of acid episode. But at a certain point, it's like they spooked themselves out. Like, they got allergic to actually having interesting characters with good stories. They just, like, something in their brains is like, no, we can't do this. We have to keep it episodic. We have to classic Rick and Morty event. And they made fun of that too. They were like, it's in a bunch of episodes, they make fun of the thing where fans are like, we want classic Rick and Morty back. And yet it seems like they themselves have psyched themselves into that mental trap. And so that's my rant about Rick and Morty. They've gone, I mean, it's always been a nihilistic show, and that's a really important element of it, but they've gone too nihilistic. It's like all they care about is meta humor and being inane. The actual characters don't seem to matter anymore. That being said, the show is still entertaining. But this show, what I really like is that it seems very much pushing in that serialized direction. Like, these characters are going to develop. This story is going to develop. This has an overarching plot, and that's baked into the whole premise of the show. And so that's very important, because it is a comedy show, it is a cartoon, and it is made for adults. And we don't really get a whole lot of that specific combination. Comedy, cartoon, adults, with the serialized aspect. Usually, if there is a cartoon for adults that's serialized, it's more of a drama thing. So that's very important. I really like that they're going in that direction. And I just want to say, I mean, the animation and the style is just so much more appealing than most cartoons I've seen. And I really like that these independent animators, what they're bringing to the table is they're not just bringing the fact that they can do this to the table. They're also saying, no, we're pushing the boundaries and we're doing things better than anyone who's come before us. That's really cool. And so they really go all out with the animation and the style and the musical numbers. The songs are really good. The animation in these musical numbers is really good. That's clearly where they put most of the effort into the animation is in these song numbers. They kind of do a thing like Disney's Encanto. I made a video about that a few weeks ago, how in that movie, it all takes place basically in this one house, so that's not a very interesting setting. And so the way they compensate for that is in the musical numbers, they basically turn them into music videos. They're very, stylized, and they take you on these wild, fantastical journeys into different environments. And so it seems like they're really playing with that idea in this show too. They're taking advantage of the musical numbers to do different things, to take you out of the setting you're in and put you in a new setting. And just the fact that it's a musical cartoon is really cool too. I mean, we've had cartoons that have songs in them. We've had musical cartoons in the past, but it's just another thing to add to this combination. We have songs, and the songs are kind of in that Broadway style where they progress the story. I find myself really liking all of these characters and really getting interested in all these little stories that they're developing, and it's great that they took advantage of this first season to create a bunch of little seeds for stories that can develop over time. And so you have the whole rivalry between the radio demon and the television demon. That was very interesting. You have the aspect of that guy, Sir Pentius, who's entering the hotel as the hotel's first legitimate customer, I guess. The first customer the first resident who actually is there to improve himself, and that's an interesting idea. This very sensitive person who was trying to be an overlord, I guess is what they're called, but he wasn't good at it, and so he decides to seek salvation. And this is an interesting premise, the whole idea of seeking salvation, because it seems like it's quite futile. Like the way Adam was describing it, it seems like once you go to hell, you're there permanently. There's no actual escape. And yet Charlie seems to believe still that there is hope for people to escape hell. Not quite sure why. But I'm wondering if the way this story is going to wrap up is going to be, well, there actually is no escape from hell, but while we're in hell, we can learn to make hell a better place to live in, which is a really interesting idea. I would be interested in seeing if that's the direction they go in. It would be an interesting moral, I think, that you might not be able to escape. Maybe escape is futile, but while you're here, you can still do the work to make this life the best life it can be, and to put the best foot forward to make the world a better place to live in for not only yourself but for other people. I think the best character in the show is Angel Dust. I mean, he's the fan favorite. He's the one that he's a lot of people's favorite character. Now, he was played by Michael Kovac in the pilot. And it seems that every time Kovac plays a character, it becomes everyone's favorite character. He's just, and it's partly because they just give him the best characters because he's good at voice acting. And partly just because of his voice. It has a unique charm. But it seems like the guy they got to replace him, they really put effort into finding someone who could mimic Kovac's voice, which is good. And it seems like a lot of the actors they got were very good replicas, at least in spirit, of the pilot. But the one that really stood out, the one that was really odd and shouldn't have been there, was Brandon Rogers as, what's her name, Katie Killjoy. Because in the pilot, she had a voice that matched her design. But then in this one, Brandon Rogers has a cameo as her, and it doesn't sound anything like her. It doesn't match the look at all. It's very strange. I feel like they should have gotten Brandon Rogers to play someone else, do a different cameo. I think Brandon Rogers plays the main character in Hell of a Boss. And, you know, he basically is a character from Hazbin Hotel, Brandon Rogers. I mean, I'm surprised that guy isn't in hell already, because he's very chaotic. And, but it's just weird putting him in the role of Katie Killjoy. It just doesn't match. I think episode 4 was the best one, the last episode. Fitting that they saved the best for last, and fitting that they saved the whole angel dust story for last, which makes sense. It makes sense because that's kind of one that I think everyone was anticipating from what I've seen, because there has been a lot of hype around angel dust. And I mean, it's a story that we've seen a million times before. It's a really old trope, the hooker story. It's a hooker story, you know, the sad hooker story. We've seen the sad hooker story a bunch of times. And so it's not super original, but I've always said, and I've never said this before, but I've always said that you can do an old trope that's been done many times before if you still manage to pull it off, if you still manage to do it in an interesting way. And I'll admit, I've never seen the sad hooker story where the hooker is a demon living in hell, trying to decide whether it's even worth it to seek salvation, and who literally sold his soul to his pimp. I'll admit, I've never seen it like that. But what was more novel about the presentation of that, besides like every other artifact that makes this show novel, that made it work, and the fact that it's just, Angel Dust is just such a likable character. I mean, everyone kind of wants to be a whore like Angel Dust. Or maybe it's just me. But it's the fact that they used that episode to sneakily actually make it about the bartender character. And I don't remember his name, because he didn't leave much of an impression for the first 3 episodes. But suddenly, episode 4, he becomes this well-fleshed out, really interesting, really likable character. And it happens very quickly. It happens very fast. And yet it all feels earned. Somehow they managed to write it in a way, tying it in with Angel Dust's story, that you just instantly grow to like this guy. And his story really resonates. And so, I mean, that's just a testament to the quality of the writing in this show. They're really good at creating these little these characters and creating these little stories for you to get interested in. And I'm really excited to see how they keep developing it over the course of the show. I think this show broke certain barriers. You know, like, I remember I was watching Your Movie Sucks, Adam. He was reacting to the pilot a long time ago, and he was expressing concern about whether a show like this could be greenlit, just because the style, which was more reminiscent of children's cartoons, though kind of an elevated version of that, it didn't mesh with the content, which was more like adult cartoons. He was expressing concern about whether this could actually get greenlit. And the fact that it not only got greenlit, but it turned out so good is a triumph. And I'm just really excited about this whole indie animation wave, just because of the quality. Like what I said about A24, it seems like these people really care about quality. And it's not just about, hey, I can make a cartoon. It's about, I can make a cartoon that is better than any of the cartoons you've seen on TV. That's a really interesting aspect of this whole phenomenon. And that is what I'm really excited about seeing going forward, is just the high level of quality and the high standard that's being set by these people. And so, yeah, I mean, I was excited about this whole movement before this show came out, but after seeing what a triumph it turned out to be, you know, after the however many 15 years of development, yeah, I mean, it's exciting going forward to see what's going to come next. I think that's it. Yeah, I thought this video would end up being a bit longer. I'm glad it wasn't. I'm glad I got it out succinctly enough. But yeah, that's all my thoughts about it. Tell me what you think about Hazbin Hotel, and I'll see you another day, another video, another time, same bat